Good afternoon, Lancer Nation. School starts in 1 week at Waterford High School, and after an almost 6 month break, it'll be great to have you all back. For the freshmen who may not know me yet, I'm your principal, Andre Hauser. We should have had your freshman orientation this week, but obviously the pandemic has interfered with that. Just one more sign that this is not a normal year. Another sign that it's not a normal year is the number of questions I've been getting from students and from parents about what the school is going to look like, what's going to be different, what's going to be the same here at Waterford High when we open the doors next Monday. So we've prepared this slideshow for you, and I'm going to go through some of the highlights. We will be addressing this all in much more detail when you get back here, but so that you know what to expect, here's a little information about the coming year. Now, we've adopted a theme for the year, shared responsibility for everyone's success. It's the only way we're really going to make it through is by helping each other make it through. That's our vision, shared responsibility for everyone's success. And we're going to be stubborn on that vision. We're going to focus all year on making sure all of us help each other. However, like Gumby, we're going to need to be flexible on the details. This is a year like none other. Everything we do, we're pretty much planning on the spot. So expect a lot of changes. Expect a lot of things to happen one way 1 week, another way another week, as we keep working on getting better at what we're doing. Now, there are a few things that you shouldn't expect to change anytime soon. And those are some really upgraded expectations for you in terms of ensuring your and everyone else's health and safety. Remember, although you're young and the coronavirus really doesn't seem to attack the young as much as it does everyone else, you're not just in this for yourselves. We're a community and we're all taking care of ourselves to make sure we take care of everyone else, our friends, our neighbors, our teachers, our families, our grandparents. So these student expectations are really non-negotiables. You staying healthy is the best way to make sure everyone stays healthy. So, first of all, if you're not feeling well, stay home. Due to the fact that we'll have distance learning running all year, you won't even have to fall behind. If you're not well enough to come to school, but you are well enough to log on, you can stay active in your classes even from home. We are asking parents to do a morning health check. If it looks like your child is running a temperature, or if they've got a cough, runny nose, they're not feeling well, please check them out. Make sure they're well enough to come to school. Face coverings or masks are going to be required while you're here. That's a non-negotiable. That's something that we're all just going to have to get used to. Now, having spent the summer mostly working by myself and not wearing a mask, and then recently having the faculty come back, I have discovered wearing a mask when you're not used to it is an inconvenience. It's uncomfortable at times, depending on the mask. So what I would suggest you do is spend the weekend trying to build up your stamina. Wear a mask for a few hours at a time. Wear it even if you don't have to. Get over that day or two of discomfort and awkwardness and be ready for school to start with that mask on, because for you to be here, that mask is going to have to be with you. Next, social distancing is required. We're going to be socially distancing you to the greatest extent feasible. That's not always going to be 6 feet, but we are going to do our very best to try to meet that where we can, when we can. There will be a lot of rules that we're putting in place that are going to be designed just to help reinforce that social distance. Frequent hand washing and hand sanitizing is expected. To make that simpler, we've installed hand sanitizer dispensers throughout the building. And one more, students this year may not change buses. That's right. We don't want you going lots of places and we don't want you in a lot of other vehicles. We are going to ask that if you are going home, either it's with a ride or with the bus that you came on, not with another bus to someone else's house. Now, to really monitor your own health, it's important to know the symptoms of COVID-19. So here are the big ones. First of all, a fever. Anything over 100.4 degrees could be a sign that something's wrong. A cough and a sore throat, shortness of breath, some gastrointestinal symptoms, and a big clue here, a loss of smell or your sense of taste. If you're feeling those or a combination of those, that is a sign that you may possibly be experiencing COVID-19, and you really need to put your health and everyone else's health ahead of getting to school in the morning. For those of you who do come to school ill, we do have a containment plan for anyone exhibiting symptoms, and we'll put that in place if we feel that we need to isolate anyone and send them home for their own good and for the good of the rest of the school. Now, a little bit more on those face mask expectations. They are required for all students, staff, and visitors. They're required in school, and they're also required on the buses. If you show up to school without a mask, or if you get to your bus stop in the morning without a mask, you will be given one and you will be expected to wear it all day. And parents and other visitors, because public safety is everyone's responsibility, we are going to require that of you as well. Although we're trying to limit unnecessary visits to the school as much as possible, we know that some of you may need to visit at times, and when you do, please be sure to bring a mask with you. Now, a number of different types of masks are acceptable. Medical masks, of course. Disposable masks are fine. Cloth masks, I know a lot of people have been wearing custom designed cloth masks. Those are fine as well. Buffs or gaiters and bandanas are also acceptable, although there's some research indicating they're not quite as reliable, so we'd prefer you stick to the actual masks. When can you remove a mask? Well, very rarely. Basically, if you've picked up breakfast before school, you can remove a mask to eat it. If you're eating lunch, you can remove a mask to eat it. We will also be scheduling mask breaks throughout the day. These will be short breaks from class where you'll go possibly outside, possibly to a larger area like the library or the auditorium, and have an opportunity to spread out, get further away from your peers, and take off your mask. Um, but at all other times, we are requiring that masks be worn in school. Now, to help get the school ready, there are a number of improvements to the building that you're going to notice. First of all, our water fountains have been converted to bottle filling stations, or if we haven't been able to convert a particular water fountain, we've shut it off. So please bring a water bottle with you. We want you to stay hydrated if you're thirsty, but the way to do that will be to fill a bottle at the bottle filling station and not drink directly from one of the water fountains. You're going to notice plexiglass barriers around the building, any secretary's desk, our attendance office, our guidance office, around teachers' desks, in the cafeteria. There's a lot of plexiglass in our building. Speaking of the cafeteria, we've actually designed a second one. We've brought in more furniture and we've created a second cafeteria in the field house lobby. The purpose of that is for us to have some time between each lunch to thoroughly clean and disinfect surfaces, or if we need to spread students further out to increase social distancing. There are cleaning supplies in all classrooms. There are hand sanitizer stations around the building, and there are signs all over the place, plenty of reminders to wear a mask, wash your hands, give your friends plenty of distance. The more you get reminded, the more likely you are to remember. When you come into classrooms, you're going to notice that they look a little bit different this year. In fact, they look a little boring. We've removed any unneeded furniture. We're trying to maximize distance between tables and chairs, and that extra furniture that's been removed is helping us do that. We're also facing all chairs and tables forward towards the Promethean board. That is going to allow us to make sure you're not breathing towards one another more than you need to, and helping us enforce social distancing. We're going to get as much space between people as possible in the classrooms, just like we are everywhere else in the building. Now, we are asking that people wear a mask, but we also recognize that there are times in teaching where a teacher may need to remove their mask. If they're going to do that, they will be maintaining a distance of 6 feet or greater from everyone else in the room before removing their mask, and they'll keep it off for as little time as possible to meet the need. Now, outside of the classroom, you're going to notice some changes as well. We've lined our hallways for directional travel. Either you drive or you're hoping to drive soon, so remember, you travel on the right. Don't cross the lines. We're also extending our passing times. Instead of a 5-minute passing time between each block, we've got a 10-minute passing time between each block this year. And that is to help us stagger dismissal from classes to limit the number of people who are in the hall at any given time. We'll probably start the year trying a few different ways of dismissing you from classes until we find the one that we feel works best, and then we'll stick with that. At the end of the day, dismissal is going to be staggered. Instead of just the seniors being dismissed a few minutes early from everyone else, we're going to have each grade dismissed 2 minutes apart from one another so that you have some time to leave the building, get out to the buses or get out to your cars without having a traffic jam at any of the exits. We're also not going to be using lockers this year. If you're an athlete and you've got sports equipment that needs to be dropped off, or a musician with an instrument you're bringing to school, you can drop those off at the locker room or the music room. Your coaches or your music teacher will tell you more about that. Arrival procedures. We are encouraging parents to drive students or to have older students drive themselves as much as possible to limit the number of students on our buses. The more space we can create in the buses, the better off everyone is going to be. Students, when you arrive here, I know historically you've all liked congregating in the halls before school and catching up with your friends, but this year we are going to have to ask that you report directly to your first block class on arrival after you take care of any necessary errands. Those might be breakfast, going to an office if you have some business there, or dropping off that sports equipment in the locker rooms. And as a reminder, the first week of school will be starting with advisory, not our first block classes. So when you arrive here in school, head directly to your advisory class. Ninth graders, we know that you haven't had the advantage of getting a tour of the building yet, so we'll make sure that we have staff available in the hallways to help you find your classroom. Now, just as a hint for you, any advisory room that's a 100 is on the first floor. If it's a 200, it's on the second floor. If it's a 300, it's on the third floor. If it's a room in the 400s, we don't have a fourth floor. That's going to be something that's over in our field house. So you can go directly across the bridge and head to the field house if your advisory class starts with a 4. Now, our daily class schedule is going to look very similar to what it has in the past, with the exception of those passing periods being 5 minutes longer, and therefore each block being 5 minutes shorter. Block 1 on A day and B day is going to start at 7:25 like it always has. Advisory will start about its normal time. Now, when you're in school, on your in-school learning days, you'll report to advisory and you'll be there with your advisory group. On Wednesdays, when everyone is home for distance learning, we will have an opportunity for you to either seek out any teacher you might need for some extra help, or some clubs and activities will be meeting then. Class council, student government, National Honor Society, things like that still need to meet. And the best way to do that when we won't ever have everyone on campus is to have it be on the day when no one's on campus and have virtual meetings scheduled by your advisors. On your other two distance days, your advisory period is going to be taken up with a combination of some social emotional support and basically community building activities designed by our school counselors, and an opportunity for you to seek out any teachers who might not have an advisory meeting that day for extra help. Our lunch blocks are pretty much the same as they've always been, 30-minute long lunches. However, you notice that the locations are different. We've got the cafeteria, we've got the field house, we've got the cafeteria again. That is so that we have some extra time to really do a thorough job of cleaning in whichever room's just been used before anybody comes in and eats again there. As I mentioned earlier, the dismissal procedures are staggered by grade. The times for that are seniors will be dismissed at 2:04, 11th graders at 2:06, 10th graders at 2:08, and 9th graders at 2:10. Parents, if you're coming to pick your kids up, since they'll all be coming out at pretty much a trickle, you might as well come at the same time you've been coming, a few minutes before dismissal, so that you're ready when your kids get there. But there's no need to come much earlier than you would have in the past. Speaking of arrival and dismissal, we are expanding late arrival and early dismissal privilege for the time being to students from 10th grade on up. That's historically always been just a senior privilege with us. But for the length of the pandemic, while we're trying to limit the number of kids coming in or leaving at any one time, and we're trying to limit the population of the school as much as we can, we have decided to expand that to 10th graders and on up. Now, 10th and 11th graders, we are not going to be changing schedules for you to get you this privilege. This is just for people who've already got a study hall in their schedule. We want you in class and we want you in the classes you asked for last spring, so we're going to keep you in them. And remember, this is really only meant as a way to mitigate the crisis caused by COVID by reducing the number of students arriving and departing at one time. Our cafeterias. There are some changes to our cafeterias and dining procedures. Now, we are serving breakfast in the cafeteria, just like we did in the past, but we are asking that you go to your classroom to eat it. We don't want crowds building up in the cafeteria before school. I already mentioned the two cafeterias. That's to stagger the lunch waves, create more spacing, and more time for cleaning. Cafeteria procedures are going to be a little bit different. We don't want a traffic jam at the entrance to the cafeteria at the beginning of each lunch. So we are going to be calling students to the cafeteria by department. We'll call you down perhaps from English class and then from social studies class, and you'll come down. We're also going to be dismissing you from the cafeteria by table or area so that we have a steady flow of traffic leaving the cafeteria and not a jam at the cafeteria door. Now, the cafeteria staff is only going to be able to offer limited lunch options for you, and all meals will be prepared in advance. This is following some health and safety guidelines that have been put in place that we have to provide food that's been prepackaged and it has to be given to you by the cafeteria staff, so no self-service. It's not quite grab and go, it's more receive and leave service in the cafeteria this year. And after you get that and you go into the dining area, you're going to notice that the seating has been distanced and there are going to be plexiglass barriers where we have tables that weren't quite as big as we wanted them to be to keep you safe. I can't stress this next one enough. Bring your laptops, bring your Chromebooks. I know in the past, our bring your own devices rules looked at personal technology as a luxury or a convenience, but that's not the case anymore. Your personal technology is now a necessity for you to complete your schoolwork, and we need to think of it as such. Now, we also need to think about what's the right tool for the job. Your cell phone is not the right tool for the job in managing your classwork. A laptop will do, a Chromebook will do. In some circumstances, if you've got a keyboard for it, a tablet may do, but a cell phone is just not going to be what you need. So if you don't have the technology you need, please reach out to us right away. We have given out all of the Chromebooks we currently have, but we do have more ordered, and we may be able to help you out. Our new focus in terms of working with you with technology is to help you learn to use your tech responsibly and ethically to support your learning, regardless of the location or the format. You'll be learning some days in school, you'll be learning some days at home, so your teachers will be designing their work and managing their classrooms from Google Classroom with the assumption that wherever you are, you need to be able to access the work. We'll be using Google Classroom. We got all of our teachers up to date on it last year, and it would be a shame not to use that. So since they'll be using Google Classroom, you need to check your emails this weekend before the first day of school. You need to accept those invitations that they send out. And then you need to check the class stream and your school email before next Monday for instructions for your classes. Remember, your first period classes will start at 7:25 in the morning. We don't want you late on the first day of school, even if late just means you didn't log on time. You'll also be getting some information from me in a follow-up email about a program called Classlink. This is a program that's going to help you streamline your online classwork. Now, last spring, as we had the very sudden, very unplanned shift from traditional instruction to a fully online learning experience, well, it was a rocky road at times. We did the best that we could, and honestly, students, you adapted remarkably well, but it wasn't the system we'd have designed if we'd had the time to design exactly what we wanted. And we had to try some things and see what worked for the short term. Now, this year is different. This year, we've been able to plan for this. This year, you'll be in school each week connecting with your teachers, and we expect you to be taking full class loads and doing a full week's work in them. So, a few expectations for this hybrid class structure. First of all, is classes meet in real time, whether it's on an in-person day or a distance learning day for you. And your attendance is mandatory. So please, if it's a distance learning day for you, log in on time, log in with that camera on, and be ready to actively participate. Why the camera on? Well, we've heard stories of a couple of times where maybe people turned the camera off and went to get a snack, or did some video gaming, or maybe even took a nap. And we want to know that you're there. We want to know that you're engaged. We wouldn't let you sleep in class. We're going to ask you to stay with us online as well. We also know that every once in a while, those cameras went dark because of technical issues. If you're having any kind of technical issues in any of your classes, there are two things you should do right away. First, contact your teacher. Email them and tell them, oh no, I just left your class because there's a problem with my Wi-Fi or there's a problem with whatever it might be. But then, if you can't resolve that tech issue on your own right away, use this email, techsupport@waterfordschools.org. Contact them with the nature of the problem. That's our IT department. They're great. They're a great staff, and they'll be happy to help you out and get you back into class as quickly as possible. Now, back into class is a key idea for us. We were all gone, and quite honestly, I believe we all came to understand how much it means to all of us to be part of Lancer Nation. We really want to focus on our school climate this year. We want to make sure this is a great place to be. It's the place you've been hoping to come back to. Let's make it the best place to come back to possible. And that's a unique challenge this year because we're going to be forced to be physically distant. We can't let that lead to social isolation. We all need to ask ourselves, what do we want our school culture to be? And here are some thoughts that come from me. I think we need to really focus on balancing our academic and social needs. I think we need to focus on reconnecting with peers and with our teachers. We need to reinforce that great sense of school community that Lancer Nation has always had. And as a society, we have a responsibility to tackle issues of social justice, systemic bias, and equity. One more big question, one I've been getting a lot recently, what about sports? Well, the good news is that fall sports are currently scheduled to happen. Unfortunately, they're starting late, and the calendar and the competition schedules are a bit shortened because of that. And we also have to accept the fact that the continued ability to have interscholastic sports is going to depend on the public health conditions. And for those, we're going to look to the CIAC and the Department of Public Health for any guidelines that they may issue about what we can and we can't do. These are challenging times. Sometimes it can be difficult to stay motivated. There are four big factors that affect motivation, and I want you to keep them all in mind. The first factor is the belief that you can do it. Well, what is it? It is whatever you choose as a goal, whatever it is that you set your mind to. So make sure you pick valuable goals and make sure you set your mind to accomplish great things. Next is the belief that your efforts will have an impact. You need to know, you need to believe that putting in the effort is going to lead to the results you want. So trust in that at the outset. The next factor is seeing progress towards those goals. Seeing that progress reinforces the belief that your efforts will have an impact. And the last thing that keeps you motivated is the belief that your goals matter. The best way to make sure you believe your goals matter is to pick goals that are worth having. And to keep in mind this simple quote from James Baldwin, who once wrote, "Those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by others doing it."